Hello and welcome to your lunar eclipse video for the lunar eclipse of the 16th of September 2016. This eclipse will take place at about 5 minutes past 8, that's UK time. If you go online, I'm sure you can find out what time that will be in your particular time zone. In terms of visibility, this is the penumbral eclipse. It's going to just be slightly visible. It will make the moon a little more dim than usual. You should be able to see it over most of Europe, Asia, Africa, and if you're brave enough to go to Antarctica, you'll be able to see it there as well. And say hello to the pigeons while you're there. Pigeons. Pigeons? Penguins. Not pigeons. Where am I coming from with that? I think you know what I mean. Let's talk about First, let's learn how to talk. Let's try again. Let's talk about Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra, which is where this particular eclipse is going to be taking place. So I'm going to ask you some questions just to try to give you a tonality of this particular nakshatra and try to get you involved in the experience of it. How do you respond when your ignorance is pointed out to you? Now, that's not a dig at you personally. I have ignorance. I'm sure everybody out there has ignorance on one level or another. There are a few beings who have, complete and perfect awareness. But I'm sure most people listening, don't take it personally, have ignorance on one level or another. And how do you respond when you discover that you're ignorant? Do you become proactive and do something to rectify the situation? Do you acknowledge that you perhaps have not been aware of something, but then move on and try to do what is necessary in order to change things? Or are you one of those people who kind of creates, for lack of a better way to put it, a rod for your own back, and you just give yourself a hard time over it endlessly? It's interesting that I'm doing this today because I was just talking to Vic Dakara on my channel yesterday, and we were talking about the concept of guilt when we were talking about the planets and how guilt, maybe guilt serves a momentary purpose to point us in the direction of recognizing that there might have been something that we did that was wrong. But guilt only serves that momentary purpose, right? And I don't even think you really need to call that guilt. You need to call that awareness, right? Bringing your awareness to something. Then recognizing that you've done something wrong. And maybe you do need that initial little bit of feeling in order to move the feeling of wrongdoing out of your system. But that's about it. And if you continue to hold it, right? Sure, maybe you need to hold it a little bit longer because the problem is deep-rooted and you need to get it out a little more effectively. But quite often we tend to just hold things much longer than we need to hold them. We create a rod for our own back and we give ourselves a hard time. And that doesn't go anywhere towards resolving the karma. As a matter of fact, it just creates more. It creates the karma of self-blame. Of self-abnegation, of giving yourself a hard time, and that's not where you want to head. Now, with this particular eclipse, there are a few angles going on to it from Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury, and of course the Sun, because a lunar eclipse always takes place on the full moon. But that I take as a given. And we've got a retrograde Mercury in the equation. So let's talk about each of these. And I want to talk to you a little bit too about something called Tarabala, which, loose translation means star strength, right? And this is related to the distance of one planet in a nakshatra from the moon in its nakshatra. You can also do it from one planet to another, like Mars to Jupiter, Mars to Saturn, all of those things. But for this purpose, I'm going to use distance from the moon because this will help us to get an understanding of it. So Mars is in Mula Nakshatra at the time of the eclipse. And Mula energy can have this tendency to push and push and push. Many times it can equally, especially when Ketu is well disposed, which it's actually not at the moment. It's actually in somewhat of a difficult scenario. But there can be the tendency to push and push and push, sometimes from a space of wanting to do the right thing. There's a desire that's welling inside of each and every one of us right now in order to create a change, to do the right thing in the situation that each one of us is facing. But are you willing to listen if even with that you have it pointed out to you that you're taking the wrong steps or you're going in the wrong direction? Or are you going to instead just amplify your actions in the same direction that you think up here is going to create the change? Well, that's something that Mars is warning us about. And Mars is in Vipattara from the moon, which creates a tendency of feeling frustrated in one's actions. So it's not likely that the continual pushing up against the boundaries is going to bring the change unless you're doing it with awareness and paying attention to the feedback that you're getting from your environment. And that's absolutely necessary to do. Now, Mars's aspect to the moon will be waning at the time that the eclipse becomes exact. The same with Saturn. Saturn is in Jyeshta Nakshatra, and of course Mars and Saturn are conjuncting each other at the moment. And with Jyeshta Nakshatra, there's the potential for insight. There's the potential to see a situation more vastly than you might otherwise have the opportunity to do so. And Saturn is in good Tara from the moon. It's in Sampat Tara, which is more receptive. So it's able to be receptive to this insight. It's able to be receptive to those things that it is seeing. And then we've got Mercury, a retrograde Mercury. And that Mercury is in Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra. And this Mercury is very strong. And it is in Prachaktara, which brings a even higher level of frustration. It's like you reach a plateau. Just to give you an idea of Prachaktara, imagine you reach a plateau with something, only you find out you're not satisfied. This isn't it either. I need to go higher and higher with it. That's the energy of Prachaktara. And with this particular energy, you may be kind of criticizing yourself, analyzing yourself. Analyzing is good. Criticizing equally can be good as long as you're doing something constructive with the process. And that's the idea with this particular eclipse is, are you doing something constructive? Are you working in harmony with yourself, or are you working against yourself? And there's a lot of doubt and a lot of not knowing yourself really connected with this eclipse, and a tendency to want to just kind of put your emotions to one side because you're not really sure how you're going to cope with it. And it's not that you should put your emotions to one side. It's just that you should really kind of accept yourself in the moment in terms of the actions that you're doing. Recognize that you're doing your best, as our good friend Jupiter is going to point out to you. Jupiter is in Sadaktara. And that means that you're really trying to perfect the situation with Jupiter, right? Maybe having to struggle against things a little bit harder, but through facing the resistance that you're dealing with. And that's really the key to this, is you're dealing with, well, for lack of a better way to put it, an uphill battle. And that uphill battle may not necessarily feel encouraging, but at least you're trying. So I want to equally point out that at the time of the lunar eclipse, the Karana is going to be Bhava, and the solar lunar yoga is Ganda. So overall, this is about forming the right relationship. I'm going to kind of touch on something, because likely this does involve interaction with another person, this particular eclipse energy. Interaction with another person, how you feel you might be able to interact with them a little bit better. But the root of that is really tied in with, are you able to communicate with yourself well? Are you getting clear about who you are? Because if you're not clear about who you are, how are you going to be clear with somebody else? And that's really a lot of it. So there's the capacity with this particular eclipse energy to rise above the situation. But it's going to take a little bit of restraint. And that restraint really comes along the lines of I want to say, avoiding self-blame. It's not that you're guilty. It's not that you are wrong. It's not that you are a bad person and you're being punished by the universe. It's not any of that, really. It's just about learning what's going on, learning about how you react to things, learning about how maybe when you feel bad about something, you turn around and you project that onto somebody else, right? Because you don't want to go inside of yourself and accept responsibility for what you need to do. The moment that you do that, right, that's the moment you can begin to transform the situation. Because equally, Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra gets filled with this passion, right? It's a Kshatriya Nakshatra. So once your ignorance is made aware to you, just do whatever you can to rectify it, right? But keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. That's really the key here. Don't get frustrated with yourself. Don't get, I'm not going to tell you not to do these things, right? You likely will get frustrated with yourself. I think more I'm just trying to say, be aware when you get frustrated with yourself. Be aware when you get frustrated with another person. The blame isn't on them. The blame isn't necessarily on you. The responsibility lies with both of you in order to transform the situation. It's just karma interacting with each other. So do your best with this particular lunar eclipse. That's all that's asked of you. Perfection is not expected at this moment in time, with the exception of recognizing that you are perfect in this moment in time. You're perfectly where you need to be in this moment so you can transform a situation. Now, obviously, I can't just out of the blue tell you what that situation might be unless I were to look at your particular birth chart. And even if you're not able to get your consultation scheduled in before the eclipse, periods are far-reaching. And we're usually dealing with the aftermath of that for a good 6 months afterwards. So no rush on scheduling it. But equally, if you do want to schedule in and I'm not able to get you in before the eclipse, I can likely get you in shortly afterwards and we can still talk about some of the things that are coming up for you. And you can do that through my link at the bottom of the page, which will take you to my astrological services page. That's going to do it for a look at the lunar eclipse of the 16th of September 2016. Until next time, please take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.